Okay, so now we got the tree decorated, we've got the tree mounted on the roof. Now we got to make the lights work. And so now comes the electrical part. And what I've got here is a 15-foot brown, sometimes I use a green one, extension cord, and not a real heavy duty one because this is not drawing a lot of electricity to run these little LED lights. And so when we put the lights on the tree, we started at the top of the tree, so our electrical outlet or our plug-in is up here. And so then I just plug that into the extension cord, and I'm gonna wire tie this on here so they don't pop loose. And then this cord needs to get to our power port on the inside of the car. Now, because Annie Me Sweets here owns a hatchback or a wagon that's got a lift gate, we're just going to run this around the inside of the lift gate. And so what I do is I pull that, I tuck that down inside there. So now I've got the cord running through here under the door of the hatchback. And you would do the same thing if you don't have a hatchback. If you got a 4-door or 2-door car, you would just kind of run it around so it goes in through the door frame. And I ran it over here. We can't get under the hinges here. So I ran it under here, and I'm going to bring it into the car. And what I do then is I'm going to run it along the inside of the car out of the way so people, when they get in and out, aren't snagging on it all the time. And then we'll run it up to our closest power port so we can plug it in. Okay, so here is the plug-in for the lights on the tree, and here's the extension cord. I plugged them in together, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire tie this up here onto a branch. And I see I got a loose wire from a set of light wires, so I'm going to include that in the bundle. And I just zip tie that on here, and that keeps this extension cord and the plug-in from banging on the car all the time as you're driving down the road. You got to realize this thing's going to wobble around, it's going to be flipping in the air, and so we don't want to have this hitting on the roof of the car all the time. So I zip tied it up there out of the way. You see the brown cord comes down. Now it goes inside the doorway here, and because of the molding and the seal around the door, it prevents the air from coming in around that cord. Okay, we brought that wire in, and I just wanted to clarify this little rubber gasket that goes around your door, that will pretty much seal up the extension cord, and you shouldn't have any leaks or any issues like that around your door, especially on these modern cars. If you're concerned about it, you could just put a little duct tape over this to protect it, you know, to keep it sealed when you close your door or your hatch. It should be fine. This is our 3rd year of doing this, and we haven't had a problem with it. Back up here, if you got a lot of looseness like this, particularly if you have to go in through a side door, you could just take a piece of duct tape and duct tape it down onto the roof along the cord onto the roof so that it'll keep it from flapping around in the wind going over to the car door and on into the car. So now we've got the cord on the inside of the car, and because this has the ability for the seats to lay down, I'm going to just open the seat a little bit, and I'm going to tuck the cord down behind there, and I'm going to bring the cord down along the edge of the seat, go around the seat belts, so when somebody puts a seat belt on, they're not pulling the cord. I'm going to tuck it down in here, go down along on the seat, kind of tuck it down there out of the way. It's going to run across the floor a little bit, but I lift the floor mat up and just kind of tuck it under there. And then what I'm going to do is run it under the seat, pull it up under the front seat, and then over to our power port. Okay, so I ran the cord along the back seat, underneath the floor mat, and then I brought it underneath the front seat here, and so it sticks out, and you see why you need a 15-foot cord, because Anything shorter isn't going to reach from the back of the car all the way around to get it to our power port. Now, if you go in a side door, you might be able to get away with a shorter cord. It's better to have a long one than a too short one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that back along the seat here, kind of tucked out of the way. And in this little cubby hole here is our power port. And so I've got this running along the seat here out of the way of the passenger when they use their seat belt and such. And it's going to go sit inside that power port or inside that cubby hole like that. And next I'm going to show you how we hook up the power port. So I've got the cord up here and it's going into the cubby hole where our power port is. And the only problem is our power port, we only have one power port, that holds our cigarette lighter, they used to call them. We only have one of them available, and that's currently being hooked up to our satellite GPS and stuff. So what I did was I got a little splitter unit, and it plugs into the power port, and it splits so that we have two ports then. One for our satellite GPS, and now one for our power inverter that's the Christmas lights are gonna plug into. And this power inverter happens to swivel or pivot a little bit so that in a tight little environment like this little cubby hole, we'll have room to stick it in there. And into the power inverter, we're going to plug our extension cord coming from the Christmas lights. And you can see there's a USB port on this particular power inverter. So if you want to plug something else into it, you can do that as well. Then I tuck it all down in there and I make sure the cords are in the little groove here so they don't get pinched. Close it up. So now we've got the electrical hooked into our power port. And we're ready to test this thing and make sure our lights work. So this particular power port is hooked to the ignition of the car. So the car has to be running or at least turned on so that we can see the lights work. So I put the key in and I can just turn it on and now our lights should work.
Do they? Woohoo!
Okay, so we had these little decorative components that Annie Me Sweets loves to decorate with, so we decided we're gonna decorate the tree a little extra beyond the lights. And so if you ever watched Charlie Brown or any show like that where you saw them at Thanksgiving time go and get a Christmas tree and bring it home, there was always this big ball wrapped around the end of the trunk. And so we're gonna recreate that by taking a couple of hand towels and we're just gonna wrap them around here, create a little bit of a ball. And then I just take this decorative fabric that Annie had, some leftover from another project. We're going to wrap that around there. Just kind of create the little decorative looking ball. Now in the past, I put a bigger towel on here and I put water in it, thinking, oh, that might help the tree stay alive. Well, we never had a problem with it, and what we found was that little ball would freeze into a rock-hard ball of ice. And so we're just creating the decoration. We're not too worried about the liveliness of the tree. The tree is in good shape, very nice tree. It was cut about a week ago. And this tree will stay on the car until around the 1st or so of January, so about 5 weeks. It'll be on there. And so we don't have to worry about it all dying. It's not in the house drying out. It's out in the cool air. Here in Minnesota, we get below 0 temperatures. So we're not anticipating we're going to lose a lot of the little needles. Okay, we've got our little stump bundle here. And one of the other benefits of doing this is that the stump end of the tree here, or the bottom where it's been cut, it likes to leak a little sap. And I got a bunch on my hands, and so by putting a towel inside there over that, it keeps the sap from dripping down on the car and making a mess. So we've gone along with Annie's help. Me Sweets, she's the proverbial decorator. And if you stick around at the end of this video, you're going to get a little extra of little extra video in there with some special stuff in it. But anyway, Annie's help, we got it arranged the way we like, so it looks nice. We stapled it good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some zip ties, just connect them together. And if 2 of them are enough, we're going to go, yep, 2 of them are enough. We're just going to go around this at the neck of it and just pull it tight, just again to hold it on there safely, because we don't want to have this fabric come loose as we're driving down the highway. Now that I've got that done, good and tight, now we're going to take some ribbon and we're going to wrap around here and create some little fancy adornment on here that's going to really look cute when we're done with it. Okay, we are done with the little extra decorations on the tree. As you can see here, Annie decorated the stump end of the tree with the fabric around the towel, and then she put a little burlap ribbon around it to kind of add a little extra touch to it. Back here on the end, if you remember at the beginning of the video, we had a narrow strip of this fabric and we didn't know what to do with it. So what Annie did was she made just a little bow and tied it around the top of the tree here, and then we stapled it and put a zip tie around it to make sure it stayed in place, didn't come blowing off. Okay, we've got all our decorations added on to the tree, and one of the things we noticed as we were going around and looking at things is we've got kind of a groove in here. And so what I'm going to do is just take a zip tie and just kind of tweak the tree a little bit, go back in there and grab a branch and put a zip tie around it, kind of smooth it out, make it look a little more streamlined. Does that look better?
Yeah.
Okay. And just kind of touch it up a little tweaking as we go along, make sure we hide all our little zip ties that are showing, and then we're ready to go for a test drive and see how it handles on the highway.
Well, here comes the debut of the tree out of the garage. We hope that we have it the right size to get through the door without any damage. We'll see. Oh, looks like it's gonna work. Oh heavens, clears it by quite a bit. Looks good.
So now we're doing the road test. We're out on a 2-lane road, 60 mile an hour. Actually, I'm driving 64 in a 60. And we're just, we're gonna check here in a little bit. We're gonna pull over and see if the tree is still on the roof, if the lights are still hanging on and the decorations are all there. And we just wanted to do a road test. And when we're done with this little test, then we're gonna take it out on the interstate and do about 75 or so to see how it stands up to a good stiff wind. Okay, we have driven down the road a couple of miles, and I just wanted to stop and do a quick check over, make sure everything is still intact, nothing's blown away. And as you can see, our little ball and our bow all looks nice. The tree is still on the car, and our bungee cords up in there are not falling off. Our lights are all still in place. Everything looks good. I just check it, shake it around a little bit, check it, and then we've got little decorative tree topper bow back here, and just making sure that the extension cord and everything looks good. And it stayed centered on the car, and looks like we're good to go. We're going to take it out on the interstate and do her at 75, 80 miles an hour, see how it goes. Okay, now we're out on the interstate testing to see how the tree is going to hold up with the high speed, strong wind. Doing 80 miles an hour going down the interstate in a 70 mile an hour zone. Anyway, it's doing good. Hardly any noise. if we get a strong headwind when you're going this fast, you do get a little noise with the tree sitting up there. But so far, it sounds good. Not affecting the handling of the vehicle. You do have to be careful with crosswinds because you are sticking up there a little bit. But it's doing good. The only drawback about putting a Christmas tree on your roof, especially if you do a lot of traveling at 75 miles an hour, the gas mileage goes down. This little outfit that me sweets Annie, she owns, it gets about 33, 34 miles a gallon. And with the tree on top, we lose about 5 miles a gallon. So we get about, 28, 29 miles a gallon with the tree on the roof. And so for 5 weeks, we live with it because we enjoy all the fun of having a Christmas tree on the roof, especially a lighted one. Okay, we just got back from our road trip on the highway and the interstate, and everything looks good. The lights light up nice. It's getting that time of day where we can now see the lights. And what's fun at this time of the day when you're going down the highway, people see the lights and they wave, give you a thumbs up, clap. We've even had little kids stare in awe as they're riding along in the back seat with their parents. But it all looks nice. The ribbons all stayed on nicely, and the tree didn't move. Everything turned out real nice, and it's a done deal. And we'll do a little added video towards the end with what it looks like in the dark. And here is the backdrop, is our McCarthy's Poorhouse. That's our garage / pub. And sometime we'll put a video up online of what the inside looks like. And there's looking out across the lake in our backyard. And there's the stage we built. We hire bands a couple times a year and have music out here, and people come and dance, and we have a good old time. And there's the yard, and a couple of deer in the yard, got the Christmas tree ready. There's the back of the house. So here's Annie getting ready to leave for work, and it's just the right light conditions so that we can see what the tree looks like and still see the car.